out of the pocket. 7 seconds. 6 seconds. Murray hits it downfield. It's caught. It is caught. DeAndre Hopkins.
Kevin Durant way outside. Delivers. Kevin Durant from downtown. It's a 6-point game.
Good evening to everybody. It is your boy Lewis Sports Network coming back at you with another video, but this time it's going to be uploaded to my channel. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure to smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, make sure your notifications are turned on, and make sure you guys are sharing this on your social media platforms. I truly appreciate it. So I just finished doing the Sacramento Kings and Orlando Magic, and then I also did the Minnesota Timberwolves and Golden State Warriors first half game. So make sure you guys go check those streams out, and then let me know what you guys think of the commentary in the comment section. Appreciate it. Now, this video, I'm going to switch gears and go to wrestling. And what am I going to be talking about? Wrestling. I'm actually going to make a GOAT series for superstars that have the case to be the greatest wrestler of all time. And the first guy that I'm actually going to make is about the excellence of execution, one of my favorite all-time wrestlers ever, and that is Bret the Hitman Hart. You're asking yourself, Lewis, Bret the Hitman Hart being the greatest superstar of all time? It doesn't sound like it on paper. But let me tell you why Bret Hart has a case. It's not just the championships he won in the WWE. It's not the championships that he won in WCW, because Bret Hart has actually one of the most decorated careers in wrestling history. It's not just the fact that he won championships in Canadian Stampede Wrestling and wrestled guys like the British Bulldog and the Dynamite Kid, or the fact that he teamed up with and was with the Hart Foundation, obviously with Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Jimmy Hart being his original manager. This is why Bret, to me, actually has a case for the GOAT. Take, for example, the ladder match that Shawn and Razor Ramon had that gets talked about today from WrestleMania 10. Bret Hart was the originator of the idea of the ladder match in the WWE. He doesn't get enough credit for it, and I think he should, because there's some things, innovative things that Bret has done that doesn't get enough credit. Like, for the example, the first time that you ever saw someone go through a table in a live pay-per-view at the Survivor Series against Big Daddy Cool Diesel, aka Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash is on record as saying that Bret Hart, he trusts Bret Hart to be able to do a backbreaker because Bret made it so believable. And the thing is, when you look at Bret's in-ring work, he is a master psychologist. He does an unbelievable job of being. Bret is one of the greatest in-ring generals of all time. Knows how to dictate a match. He has a very good idea on how things go. Bret may have not been the most charismatic superstar, but here's the thing: you don't always have to be charismatic to be great. What Bret did was he let his technical wrestling do the talking. Another thing, I know people cut slack on his promos and say that Bret was not charismatic and Bret wasn't great on the mic. Now, if you want to put Bret's mic skills into context, you have to have an antagonist in terms of you have to have an opponent. In this case, a Vince McMahon and a Shawn Michaels, to get the best out of Bret Hart when it came to talking out of anger, for him to be able, for his mic skills to come to the forefront. But here's what I liked about Bret Hart's promos. They had a lot of realism in them, ladies and gentlemen. He made you believe. He made you believe in that fight the good fight. And when you listen to him, it made you want to believe in Bret that he could get the job done. And Bret was saying it after Wembley Stadium when he fought the British Bulldog. And they had a classic match at SummerSlam of '92 for the IC belt. What Bret Hart said was that match was the match that actually gave him the momentum for him to become the champion. And then he started to believe that he could be champion. And the fans believed that Bret Hart could be the guy to carry the company in the years to come. Bret Hart was the guy in the Federation years. Look at the list of who's who he went up against during that in the 90s. You're talking about underrated guys like the Mountie. You're talking about Hall of Famer Roddy Piper, classic WrestleMania 8 match. You're talking about Mr. Perfect, the guy who had a bad back at SummerSlam. He had, I think, several herniated discs in his back, and Mr. Perfect went out of his way to have the match with Bret for Bret to win the IC title. And they had a classic match at SummerSlam at Madison Square Garden. You talk, obviously, the history with Shawn Michaels. You're talking about Kevin Nash. You're talking about The Undertaker. Don't forget that Stone Cold's career took off because of Bret the Hitman Hart. The double turn shooted Austin up to popularity, and Austin became the face of the Attitude Era. But you can argue that Bret low-key started the Attitude Era, because there was Attitude starting to develop in, what, 96? And Bret was a part of that. Now, here's the thing, what I had to say about Bret. He was able to also put a lot of guys over. Take a look at Sean Waltman, for example. Sean Waltman, aka X-Pac, aka the 1-2-3 Kid. I say it again, look at their classic match on WWF Raw on July 11th of 1994. Look it up on YouTube and watch that match. The storytelling in that match is unbelievable. That when I was a kid, I really thought the 1-2-3 Kid was going to win the WWE title. When you look back on the match as an adult, you're like, no, Bret was going to keep the title. The belt was going to stay on Bret. But that's what's so amazing about Bret. He made you believe. Just a great ring general, and put technical wrestling in the forefront. He wanted to make the storytelling about Bret was so crazy is that he treated it as a sport, even though you had to be very good at acting. I think that's what I appreciated about Bret a lot when he wrestled. He treated it like a sport, even though there was acting involved into it. And that's what I appreciate so much about Bret. And then obviously his brother Owen. The classic storyline that they had at the end of 93, throughout most of the fall of 94. Just incredible storytelling. The build-up was it was slow, but it was very good. Bret protected Owen. And the crazy part was Bret was the reason that Owen actually went over at WrestleMania. Because Owen was at a point that he was almost about to quit the WWE. And so here's something that people don't know. The original storyline for Bret having a family feud was supposed to be his brother Bruce. It was not supposed to be Owen. It was supposed to be that Bruce was supposed to have an issue with Bret, and then Owen was supposed to come in and make the save, and then Bruce was supposed to fight Owen. But here's what I thought. I thought to myself, Owen is so naturally talented. You can argue that he's probably a better wrestler, slightly, than Bret, because he was actually an overall better athlete. Owen has more charisma than Bret. Bret has all the accolades. Why don't you make Owen the jealous one to go after Bret? And it made more sense because Bret is the most accomplished wrestler in the family. Bret already was the world champion. Make Owen jealous considering his talent and make those guys go against each other. I think that Owen would have had no direction, and I think he would have quit probably after the Bruce storyline. But fortunately, because they made Owen go up against Bret, it created such a classic rivalry. We had two Hart brothers, and the thing was, the storytelling was so great. You felt it was real. You really felt that they hated one another. No, they loved each other, and they had a lot of fun doing it in the storyline. So we also got to thank Bret the Hitman Hart for giving us Owen Hart and allowing Owen Hart to be put on the map, because he had the talent, but he had no direction in the WWE, and he was going to quit. And Bret goes to Vince. Vince says they were going to have something for Owen in the coming weeks. And then Owen playing the classic heel at WrestleMania 10. Just awesome. Classic WrestleMania match. I think it's the greatest opening match. But what makes Bret Hart the GOAT, in his case, it's his ability to make his peers look good. His ability to make his peers look good while not taking away from himself. I think that's what's very special about Bret Hart and doesn't get enough credit for. You could talk about what kind of attitude he had. You could say that he's a douchebag. I'm just talking about his in-ring work. In-ring work, Bret Hart definitely has to make a case for the GOAT. Even he has some good matches in WCW, and it's a shame that WCW didn't know how to use him, because he could have had potential classics with other guys too. When you look at the pool in there, you had DDP, you had Booker T, you had Scott Steiner. There was a lot of guys in there that he could have did. It's funny because Bret came in with a lot of heat to WCW. The potential, Bret's GOAT status would have been even greater. It's a shame that him and Sting, their matches were not as good as I thought that they could have been. And the WCW dropped the ball with that. So then, and it's unfortunate that his career ended with a kick to the face by Goldberg. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is what makes Bret the Hitman Hart so special. Now, you look at the Attitude Era. People are saying, well, Bret would have been great if he was in the Attitude Era. He could have done a lot of matches. Now, here's my context argument with this. There's no question that Bret would have been good. He would have been good. Bret has a mind for the business. I'm pretty sure he has things that he can lay out. Of no question about it. The only reason that I said it wouldn't have worked out for Bret was because Bret's attitude towards the Attitude Era was he didn't like it. He felt that it didn't fit his persona. He wasn't a fan of how the business was changing. That's why I said that Bret wouldn't have lasted long in the Attitude Era. It's because of his thought process about it. It wasn't that Bret couldn't thrive. If Bret took the Attitude Era more seriously, if he felt that he could have brought attitude, Bret would have brought plenty to the table for the Attitude Era. Of course. No one's denying that. Okay? Bret has one of the greatest minds in the business, in the history of the business, of the wrestling industry. One of the greatest minds ever. But that's why I said that I don't think Bret would have lasted long because, again, he would have gotten tired of pretty much the way that the Attitude Era was. And considering what Bret was going through at the time as well, I don't think he would have lasted because look at the losses he suffered. He lost his father. He lost Brian Pillman. He lost a couple of his brothers. He lost, obviously, Owen, who Bret said that if Bret was still in the WWE, Owen would have still been alive today. Owen Hart's death, it happened it's almost going to be 22 years in May, and it still hurts. How is Owen not in the Hall of Fame? We already know why. But Owen is definitely a Hall of Famer. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. And that's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's important to understand that this is why Bret put a lot of guys over. A lot of guys are indebted to Bret in terms of what he did for them. So you may not like Bret, you may not like his charisma, you might have felt that he was a stiff in the ring, but if there's two things that you could always count on Bret really never cheated the game of wrestling like that when you really put things into perspective. He always gave it 100%. And the thing is, Bret had the ability to make you look good without taking anything away from him. He put a lot of guys over. And like I said, I don't think Stone Cold Steve Austin, people don't understand this. I don't think Austin would have been as big as he was had it not been for being in a rivalry with Bret. Bret put Austin on the map. Austin was changing, but the rivalry with Bret Hart put Austin over the map. You look at the classic rivalry with Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker, Kevin Nash. I mean, you could go on and on and on again with the all-time greats, Yokozuna. It goes on and on and on. Bret has made guys look good here, then, and out. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, with the numerous championships that Bret's won, with the amount of respect that I have for this all-time great legend, that is my case for Bret the Hitman Hart being the GOAT in wrestling history. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Lewis Sports Network once again making the case for Bret the Hitman Hart. This will be the beginning of my GOAT series for greatest wrestling superstar of all time. Let me know in the comment section who you would want me to do next. I'm actually going to put a poll up as to who do you think is the greatest superstar of all time, and I will make the case for them. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the Lewis Sports Network, shout out to the Bret the Hitman Hart. Like Bret the Hitman Hart, the Lewis Sports Network is the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. I hope this video was excellently executed by the excellence of execution. Bret the Hitman Hart, one of my favorite GOATs of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, bless up, live, laugh, love. Thank you guys for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.